Hello, everyone. Welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'm doing my weekly update. This is Liam's Leapings number 55 for the 16th of November, 2023. So I'm just going to go over all the things I read real quick, maybe talk about my week a little bit. I don't put too many notes about my mundane parts of my life, but whatever happens to come up in conversation. This is a one-way conversation. I've finished 4 books this week, which is less than it has been the past couple weeks. I'm still looking for a job. It's pretty brutal some days, just, because money is tight and I feel extremely useless. The fact that I haven't gotten a job, gotten a couple interviews, but no job offer. But I did read a lot of short stories this week. I really leaned into the short story September thing. I haven't read many short stories since right around my birthday in early April. And so I've been reading a lot more, and I even wrote a short story, Whetstone, the Sword and Sorcery, Amateur Sword and Sorcery magazine. They close for submissions, I think it's tomorrow. So yeah, if you're watching this, they close tomorrow, probably at the end of the day, like midnight or something like that, or midnight Eastern time, maybe. I don't know. Go check their website if you want to submit a short Sword and Sorcery story. They do 1,500 words, 2,500 words. If you haven't published a Sword and Sorcery story at like a pro rate or a semi-pro rate, maybe. So I finally wrote a story. It's a difference. I find that I just use stupid language regardless of what I'm writing. It's really hard for me to avoid, uh, which is good, right, to a degree, right? I'm not forcing it, which is what a lot of people say don't do. But I don't know if it's necessarily desired. Like I got another rejection today, but I did send this story in. I'm just calling it the love of words, which is it's a philology joke, except for I never use the word philology in the story, but it's kind of like a creepy sword and sorcery philology story. I thought it worked fine, but we'll see if it's received well at all. I haven't written much actually, in some ways, since I got my last rejection from Whetstone, because that was the hardest like rejection I've ever gotten. Like it hit me really hard. I was really disappointed because I thought that story was good and was gonna finally get a story in Whetstone, and I didn't get in for whatever reason. So, um, but I did read some in Realms of Valor this week. I read the first 2 stories, so I'm not going to tell you really any about these short stories I'm reading this week, because I'll tell you about them in a video I'm going to make after the end of September. Essentially, I'm going to make a video about all the short stories that are in September because it's been a minute since I've made a short story video, and it gives me a chance to talk about short stories. Where otherwise, I just talk about short stories on my weekly update, and a lot of people don't watch my weekly update. So I'm not going to tell you about them, but I read 2 stories in Realms of Valor, which is the first Forgotten Realms anthology. And then I am almost done with Consider Phlebas by Ian M. Banks. This is the first in the Culture series. A lot of people recommend you don't start here. I think it's perfectly fine to start here. I mean, this is where I'm starting. I think it's very good to a degree. Like, it's not amazing by any means. I think the character is very interesting. He seems like kind of like a poor character, like poorly characterized, but I think that's just his character. He's just kind of one of those guys that doesn't think much about their own opinions, which is a lot of people in real life. Yeah, but it's also very interesting. There is some cannibalism in here and other things that are very, but cool sci-fi. Has a mega structure on this cover, which you can't really tell it's a mega structure, but it's basically like a ring world, but it's not around a sun. Which is originally why I picked up this book a couple years ago, actually, because I think mega structures are cool as hell. So I'm almost done with this. I'm very close to finishing. I'll finish that hopefully tomorrow by the time that when this video comes up. So tomorrow, right? And then and I guess since I'm talking about the books I've started and I haven't got to the books I've finished yet, I should mention also I just started My Brother's Keeper by Tim Powers, which came out last week. This is about the Bronte sisters. So far, it's mostly focused on Emily. We'll see how much we get of Charlotte and like Anne. But it's really good so far. I'm only a couple chapters in, so I really don't have much to say, but it's like gothic Tim Powers style of story. I think I might end up liking this one more than The Stress for Regard, which I really enjoyed. My review came out a couple months ago for that, probably, and that was a gothic as well. That one was about like Lord Byron, Keats, Shelley and Polidori. And so this one is again about the Brontes. It's on the moors of York, the Yorkshire. So I'm really looking forward to it because this is one that I'm thinking this will be the third and final story I'll read for my next column. Because my next column, I think will have the theme of kind of historical based fantasy reads. Because I was going to do Lord of the Shattered Land, um, Rhymer, and then My Brother's Keeper. Assuming that all works out, I think I could tie that together into a theme. So I'm really enjoying it. But again, I'm only a couple chapters in. I'm like on page 30 maybe of 400. So not far at all. So let's get to the books I finished. So the last book I finished this week is Beyond Rejection by Justin Lieber. This is his debut novel, came out in 1980. There is a hardback version, which has a slightly different cover. And this is a sci-fi novel, first in a trilogy. I think that the next books came out later, though. I think so. I've read one other book by Justin Lieber. It was my 200th review. I think it came out in 1985, and the sequel to that came out in 86. I think this sequel to this came out in 87. So he must have put the idea aside for a while. This works as a standalone, and it's really short, and I highly recommend it. Now, it's not going to work for everyone. It's very philosophical. I don't think you need to have any idea of philosophy to enjoy it. But you can see kind of more what he's getting at if you have this idea of functionalism. I don't know very much philosophy at all, but Leiber was a philosophy professor and he seemed to like functionalism. I read a thought experiment, a dialogue, if you will, on functionalism written by Leiber as well. And it's really cool because this is Beyond Rejection. It's kind of like instead of rejecting a heart transplant, this is about a man put into a woman's body, and the woman also has a prehensile tail. You can kind of see it right there. So, and so it's like this weird identity thing. Is he a he? Is she a she? What's up with the identity? How is this story formed in more ways than one? Just it's very interesting, very interesting. Honestly, it's not surprising because his dad is Fritz Leiber, who's just one of the goats, honestly. So this is just I really enjoyed this. I think it was very interesting. A lot of people say that the Bond-esque sequence in the later half of the book doesn't work well with the first half of the book, and I think that's completely wrong. I think it mixes and meshes very well. It is very much a story about identity, sexuality. I mean, it has sexual content, of course, as you could probably imagine. Killing yourself, forging identity, gender dysphoria. It's very good, honestly. I thought this was awesome. I think he's going to get more into the functionalism stuff because the next book is called Beyond Humanity, and I believe there's going to be more. There's going to be like sentient creatures, probably. It's also cool because through this identity, right? I don't know to call it a he, she, they, I guess would be a modern term, right? But in the 80s, that wasn't a thing. And so it's Ismail Fourth, or is it Sally Cadmus? Is it Patricia a Fourth? Is it Sally Fourth? Which I think is really clever. So anyways, I really enjoyed Beyond Rejection. I was not expecting to enjoy that much. I thought it could get really bad really fast when you have a man going in a woman's body that could get really kinky and turn into like erotica, essentially. I was like, no. But no, really stinking good. I don't know if anyone else would enjoy it, but I thought it was awesome. Now I've talked about that for too much. I finally finished Beowulf, this translation and commentary by Tom Shippey, and the commentary is by Leonard Neidorf. I've mentioned this in a short when I first got it. I really enjoyed this. This is a very good version of Beowulf to get. One, because the translation is very accessible and it's also well done. The thing is about, and they mentioned this in the introduction, if I'm remembering correctly, that most Beowulf translations are not done by people who actually have a grasp of the language. Those people open up a dictionary and that's how they translate the poem. Say, like Seamus Heaney's, for example, he doesn't know Old English, right? They might have some comments from scholars, but Shippey knows his Old English. Heck, he could probably use it like an everyday language. He is very good at Old English. He just uses it, he knows it well. And so this is very good. Shippey will actually be on Philip Chase's channel at the end of the month talking about this. I highly recommend you check that out when that is happening. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's kind of funny, actually, because I shared this video. None of them will probably watch this, which is why I'm okay sharing this. But I shared this, in my short video, and Uppsala Books, who publishes this, it's Tom Shippey's company, new. This is their first publication. They messaged me on Twitter, telling me thanks, and also if I had any other ideas that any booktubers could mention this. And I was like, well, I can mention it to my friends. And I need to mention this. So David Wiley, if you're watching this, I'm sure you're interested in this one. But and anyone who's interested in Beowulf should just potentially just read this version, anyways, in my opinion. It's actually more accessible than Tolkien's. Tolkien's commentary is also really good too. And there is an essay on Tolkien in the back actually too. So, but and I was like, I suggested to them that they could get on someone's channel and have a discussion with Shippey or Professor Shippey or Professor Neidorf or both of them, right? And they were like, "Do you have any like channels recommended that have like a good enough view that would convince Professor Shippey to come on?" I was like, "Well, probably not me, right? Because I don't even have 1,000 subscribers." But I was like, "Well, Philip Chase, though, right? He did his dissertation on William Morris. He does the speculative fiction thing. He's a big fan of Tolkien. He studied Old English in school. He could probably do it, right?" Seems like it worked out. I even gave him, I gave them, whoever was running that account, Philip's email, his school email, because I don't have a personal one. But yeah, anyways, that's just a funny story. I was like, oh, that's funny that it like worked out. And it's cool. I'm just like behind the scenes, I guess, a little bit on that one. But like I said, Philip's probably not going to ever watch this. And then Upslow Books, probably never going to watch it either. So I feel okay sharing this story. It's still funny. But and then 2 books I finished. The first one I finished this week, actually, was A Fellowship of the Ring. I got this new copy of The Lord of the Rings, actually, so I'm going to show this to you. This is Donato Giancola's artwork. See Aragorn on the side there, and it's cool old Gandalf on the back. This is Balin's tomb. So you can recognize the artwork. So I finished Fellowship of the Ring. My brothers all moved on to the Two Towers. I haven't yet. I need to. I think I'll likely start it tomorrow. I'm really busy with my reading. So yeah, we'll see. We will see. I don't know when I'll get to that for sure. And then the other book I finished, which again I don't have a physical copy of, I read most of it last week, was Blood Meridian. I really like The Judge. I think The Judge is really cool. I just think the story is a little too long. I think McCarthy is very interesting, and I'm interested in reading more of his work. Those are my thoughts. So that's what I've read. Now I'm going to list all the short stories I've read. So if you want to mention any of them, feel free to. I'll talk to you about them, down below. But I'm not going to really talk about any of them in depth. I'm just going to read off the list because, again, I'm going to mention these all in a video later in the month. And I read so many short stories this week, it would make this video insanely long, so I don't want to make it super long. So I read The Power of the Puppets by Fritz Leiber. It's a horror story. Judge Dee and the Limits of the Law by Lavi Tidar. Ori on last week's Leapings recommended those, so I read that. Nyarlathotep by H.P. Lovecraft. Dagon by Lovecraft. A Witch Shall Be Born by Robert E. Howard, which I have in here. This collection only has 3 stories in it, and I skipped the middle one to read the last one, A Witch Shall Be Born. And the middle one's a novel, so I'm not sure if I'll get to that this month. I've been meaning to, so I can get to that 3rd collection of Conan stories, which are short stories. It was really good, though, anyways. A Single Samurai by Steve Diamond. The Statement of Randolph Carter by Lovecraft. The Vampire by Polidori. A View from a Hill by M.R. James. Rats by M.R. James. The Death of Dr. Island by Gene Wolfe. Beyond the Wall of Sleep by Lovecraft. I'm in a Lovecraft class, so these Lovecraft ones are for that class if you haven't been around here. The Last Sermon of Brother Grime by Timaeus, hope I'm saying that right, Tim Bloom. The Horde of the Ghibellines by Lord Dunsany. The Picture in the House by Lovecraft. I read another Dunsany one. Was it Chew and Squeamish or something? Sheemish? Something like that. Anyways, Cleopatra Brimstone by Elizabeth Hand, which was really weird. The Yellow Sign by Robert W. Chambers. Sir Malcolm Blood by Michael Moorcock. Mother of Toads by Clark Ashton Smith, which was disturbing. Illogic Named Joe by Murray Leinster. Jury of His Peers by Michael R. Collins. The Shunned House by Lovecraft. Did I already mention that one? No, there's 2 ones with house. Okay. Scanners Live in Vain by Cord Wainer Smith, my first Smith. I thought that was really cool. Tedrick by E.E. Doc Smith, my first of that Smith as well, and I didn't enjoy it as much. Cry Witch by Fritz Leiber. Beautiful Screams by Steve Diamond. Judge Dee and the 3 Deaths of Count Verdenvels by Lavi Tidar. The Dead Man by Gene Wolfe. And Mother of Catastrophes by Aaron Evans. I actually have books of those last 2 right here. That Aaron Evans story is in this Champions of Altaltis, which is like a role-playing like world or something RPG. I like Aaron Evans, so she's the first story in here. Actually, I decided to read that. And then The Dead Man is from The Dead Man and Other Stories, which recently came out. It's the very first story. It's very short. It's very interesting. It's done well, but it's really simple, straightforward. The story is like 5 pages, maybe. So that was interesting. I'm looking forward to reading more of this. I don't know if I'll read this all the way through. I kind of, the way I read short stories is I don't like reading collections generally all the way through, unless they're Forgotten Realms ones, because I blog about Forgotten Realms. I generally just pick the stories I think will be interesting, and then I just read those. So if you ever have a story you think I would enjoy, feel free to recommend it to me. So those are the stories I've read. Now let's see. Not much else going on. Let's see. It's I think Rosh Hashanah started. Well, right now when I'm recording, it's nightfall, and then my girls ran in this little race called the Tater Trot, which I thought was cute. It is only 100 meters, and it was at a school where their mascot was a russet potato, which is very funny to me. So not just a potato, a russet potato. Very specific, because we have potatoes here, so you have to be specific about what potato you are. So yeah, I've had some good reading though. It's good. Been a good week again. It's been a little up and down, very melancholy to a degree. I try to stay positive on a lot of things. I haven't gotten a job. I feel like I haven't even gotten a job I don't want, which is what's annoying me. Right? Like I've applied for plenty of jobs I don't want. Like that I'm like definitely qualified for, but for some reason I haven't gotten. Or I imagine I'm qualified for. I don't know. I feel like a useless bumping along this week because I haven't gotten those jobs, even the ones I don't want. Like I said, so I don't know what to expect. But yeah, I am. I am. I don't know. Yeah, just it should be a good week. Hopefully, maybe I can report that I have a job at the end of the week. That'd be nice. I know I keep on talking about it, and I really don't want to I'm not in dire straits right now, but I have had very much a tiny job for the last 2 months, and I don't get any I was married, so I'd get school grants and I take loans too. Now I don't have that because I'm not in school. Well, I am in school, but the school I go to now doesn't actually take any government money, so I can't get any grants and I can't get any loans, at least in the government. Of course, I could get private ones, but haven't figured out. Well, I haven't gotten any of those, so yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say besides the fact that I'll read more short stories. I'm going to try to finish up some novels this week. Definitely be reading more Lovecraft. Um, and yeah, it's been a good week. Let me know what you've been reading, what you're up to. Looking forward to fall officially starting. So yeah, have a good one. I guess. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'm surprised people watch this. I feel like a lot of times I don't have a fan base because I make so many videos that there's no way that I feel like anyone watches all my videos. Heck, my dad doesn't even do that. So I mean, and I get a decent amount of videos because I make so many videos. I don't have any comments on them, but I know people still watch the videos, which is nice. I like seeing the thumbs up on stuff. Occasionally get the thumbs down, very very rarely. So I don't really get any bad comments except for maybe on my more popular videos, and that's mostly because I don't like Triss that much. Funnily enough. Anyways.